I don't know, sometimes the males, Japanese males, they're I guess maybe it's no, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to them, but it's like sometimes they do too much touching, and it's like it feels inappropriate. Like this one time, this guy that I knew, we was like drinking and whatnot, and just hanging out and whatnot, and he.
Welcome to the Melanated Files. In this series, we highlight and share the stories of black people from across the globe. Remember to subscribe to this channel for weekly videos and also follow us on social media for regular updates. Let's get into the interview.
I go by Shed out here in Osaka. I'm originally from Port Arthur, Texas, deep south. Reason why I came to Japan. It was at first, I actually came here to Japan when I was in the military back in like '05. And it was just something like I really wanted to experience. And the first time I got that experience, it was just like, man, like I gotta come back to Japan. And actually the first place I went to was Osaka, and it was like crazy because I didn't know it was Osaka at the time. And yeah, it just really brought me a lot of experience and a lot of things different from my own perspective of being back home and stuff. So it's kind of like opened the door slowly for me to just like creep in. It's like, hey, let's see what's Japan about, and let's, live here and see what's in store for me out here in Japan. When I left the military, I was living in Hawaii. Like I was vacation. I was living in a vacation city. So living there for the past, what I want to say 8 years, lived there. So small island, now migrated over to the another island. So just pretty much island hopping, and it just felt different, and it just kept me excited to be in that type of environment. During the military, I was in Hawaii.
So you were stationed there for 8 years?
Yes, Hawaii.
I gotta ask. I'm like, how was it?
Hawaii, man, Hawaii was so beautiful. I mean, like the very first time that I was there, it was just kind of like surprising because I thought, like you saw in the movies, right? Like everyone got like a lei when they got off the airport. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, where's my lei? And I'm like, oh, that was just a movie. So I didn't get it, and I was just like, okay, so now I go to my duty station at in Hawaii. We're on a little small base, and it was just like, it was cool. But then like the first 3 months, I was like, man, this is boring. Like I'm stuck on an island. There's a rock. Where can I go? What can I do? And it was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna be here that long. But then after a while, I think about my 4th year in, it was just like everything started sinking in, and just like it was the culture, the people, the like respect, all that stuff, like just brought in like a lot of like unity to me. And it just felt like, hey man, this is like somewhere where I could just try to like retire, or just live here for a long time and not really worry about like drama and everything else that's going on in the world. I left Hawaii around 2012, actually 2012. And then like I was still working at the time, but I was like, oh, I'm tired of this job. I want to move out of this place and just do something different. And then that's when I just made a move. Like after I quit my job, it was like maybe about 5 months, and just say, hey, we're going to Japan. Let's go. I want to say about 5 years now. Right now, actually, I do part-time teaching English to kids and adults, and I have a clothing line. It's called VET Clothing. I have some of the stuff right now, and the hats for everybody. Very first thing I liked about Japan was the food that I had, takoyaki. Like it was just awesome. Just like, man, like what is this? Like who made this? Who thought of something of like this? And it was just like, man, like this feels good. It feels like almost kind of like a small soul food taste, but a Japanese twist to it in a sense. And I guess it was just kind of like some of the people as well too. Like some of the people I encountered, like when I first came here, when I was living in Kyoto, I think I was like hungover or something. I was like really drunk, And I didn't know that much Japanese either, so it was just kind of like crazy. I'm like, oh, like konnichiwa, genki desu ka, and just those small words. And this person at the store, and I was just like, hey, my head hurt, like, but I can't convey it in Japanese, so it was just kind of like, and I was surprised the guy actually understood what I was trying to say. So he had actually pointed me to the right direction to the drugstore, and actually found this cool guy. He was like really nice, and he didn't know any English, but he understood what I was trying to say and everything. And it really kind of bring like a real warmth feeling to me. And it's just like, hey man, you know, even though I don't speak that much Japanese, it's just that if someone's trying to communicate with someone and they're really trying to, you know, communicate with them, you know, they're going to do that. And it made me feel good. It's like, hey, you know, like, wow, like my communication skills are really low, but he was really helpful to, you know, help me get, you know, the medicine that I needed because I was hungover for no reason. Another thing, I guess, the background too, I guess, about some of Japanese cultures that I can recall, just a lot of things like from samurais to like ninjas, all those type of things like that. I try to look at like the real courageous parts of it and like the real honor of it. And I try to see how a lot of people use that in their daily lives and how much they give respect to people as well, and how their mannerisms are towards people, you know, even though they may not like them or something, but they still have that respect thing about it. And it's just like, wow, you know, they're still respectful to, you know, to a solid end, you know, no matter what. So I do appreciate that a lot. Ooh, at the least. I think here in Japan, I think a lot of kids are like selfish in a way. Like, I don't know their upbringings, and I don't know how they're being taught as kids, but I feel like there's a lot of things missing that they are not learning. And it's not saying that where I come from is like, that's not the best practice or whatnot, but just some of those things I take and some of those things I don't use. But it's just like, hey, you know, some of these things could play in Japan where it could be better in a sense. So like, say for instance, I see sometimes that their kids are just like loose, playing around, having fun and whatnot. It's like, oh, it's okay, you know. But, you know, sometimes what if someone get hit? I mean, what if someone get hit by a car or something like that because you let them be out too far away from you and you couldn't better get to them in enough time to, you know, help them? Or like my friend told me a story that had a couple kids playing like near the river, and it was all by themselves. And one of the kids actually had drowned, and it was actually on the news about it too. And it was like so sad that, you know, that happened to one of these kids like that, because they don't really know too much. And it just I felt really bad that it happened to them, because they could have learned something before that even happened, or had at least an adult, you know, present, so that way they can at least, you know, play safe without someone getting, you know, losing their life like that. And it just kind of like troubled me a lot. Another thing is like walking mannerisms or something, I guess, maybe. Just a lot of people not walking, the bicycles. Oh my God. I like, it's really a pet peeve to me. It's like, if there's a sign that says bicycle only, you know, that person should, you know, take that side. You know, that person shouldn't be taking all the lanes and everything like that to just, you know, comfort themselves. They should just do it like, hey, this is a bike lane, I'm gonna take the bike lane, and that's it. But if not, you know, it's like, why try to take over the whole road? And then there's like the moms and the grandmas, and some people don't even say nothing sometimes. And it's like, wow, like, I mean, you can at least say excuse me or do something. But some of those things like that kind of like agitate me at points. It's just like, you can be a little bit more respectful in a way. You know, you got a bicycle, you can, you know, injure somebody with a bicycle. One of the other bad things too, I forgot to mention, was the salary payment in Japan. Like, so basically what's going to happen is you're going to work for a company for basically 1.5 months for free, basically, because how they pay the system is you get paid the next month. You don't get paid the same month you're working. You get paid the next month on, let's say, maybe like every month on the 25th you get paid. that was like the biggest pet peeve that I really dislike being here in Japan. Is just like, man, like coming from America, you got it every 2 weeks. You know when your check coming in every 2 weeks. But then coming here, when you first start off with a company, you got to get paid the next month. So you might be struggling that whole month without no money. So make sure when you come to Japan, you have some change on you at least too, because that's a really big thing that you really need to have. One more thing, I don't know, sometimes the males, Japanese males, they're I guess maybe it's no, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to them, but it's like sometimes they do too much touching, and it's like it feels inappropriate in a way. So it's like they're touching you on your body and all. It's like, why would they want to touch you like that? Like, what is the purpose behind that? Like, you know, have they been doing that since they was a child and did it with their father or something like that? I'm like, oh. Okay, one experience actually, to be honest, and it wasn't like a gay experience, and there's no offense to like gay people or anything. Like this one time, this guy that I knew, we was like drinking and whatnot and just hanging out and whatnot, and he had like touched my butt, and I was like, what? I was like, why you touch my butt? And I'm thinking, because I know he's not like gay or anything like that, but I was just like, why would you touch my butt? Like that just didn't, you know, make any sense to me and stuff. And I had to tell him, like, I was like, no, you know, like the whole Japanese sign, like, no, like, don't do that. It's not good. Like, you know, if we was back home in America, you know, we would have been fighting, you know, but I'm being respectful because maybe he don't know, and maybe it was something that, like, it's okay, but it's not like we're not in sports or nothing. So I know it's like, are you gay, or, you know, you just did it and just try to see my reaction? I don't know. So I'm not going to make a quick judgment call on it, but I just felt kind of like a little uncomfortable with it. And I had to tell him about it. And I guess he understood like where I was coming from when I explained to him, like, you know, you can't do that in America because somebody, you know, may think of something else, like, oh, you gay and you might get hurt. And, you know, luckily I'm a nicer person, and it's like, hey, you know, just be careful, man. You can't do that kind of stuff to just anybody, because, you know, you never know what can happen. Best life advice. I guess when I lived in Hawaii, I guess I start kind of like rethinking like about myself. And I guess maybe it's not from a person, but I guess just from my own inner thoughts. I guess it's just looking at things and seeing how things are, and just have this perspective on life, like it's different, instead of just saying, hey, why are people like this? Why people are like this? You know, it's their own reaction. It's their own life. You know, you let people live the way they want to live their own life, and you respect people. As long as you respect people, you know, nothing's going to happen, you know, to you. But it's once people disrespect you, then that's when, you know, things bad happens. Respecting people can go a long way, and it can really help you understand a lot of different things, because some people may take things out of context and just make things like blow up. And then it's just like, wow, you know, this could have been prevented if, you know, we could have done something, you know, earlier about it. Live your life. Live your life to the fullest. You may be going through like some troubles down the road and whatnot, but I mean, we all get ourselves back up. And, you know, it's just, you know, sometimes it could be that breaking point where you could feel like, hey, you know, I can't recover from this. But, you know, you got to try to motivate yourself and surround yourself around people who's going to help you and make you grow as a person. And, you know, that's going to make you live your life. You're not going to worry about what people tell you and what people say behind your back and all this stuff, because you live your life. However way you live your life, that's on you. You know, you can do whatever you want in your life because that's your life. You only got one life to live, so you might as well, you know, live it to the fullest as much as you can. Oh God. Oh wow. Man, the first experience like being here, it was shocking because I felt like people was like kind of scared a little bit, in a sense that like they'll look at me like, oh, it's a black man, and they say it in Japanese, and I'm like, I kind of remember the words when I used to live in Hawaii, and I just like, oh, but then it felt to me, it felt like a little disrespectful, because I'm like, you shouldn't be scared of somebody just because they have, a different color skin. And it's just like, hey, isn't there somebody here? Like, oh yeah, the SoftBank guy here, he's black. I'm like, black, so it should be okay, like everybody should be fine. There's a black person who's like an idol now in Japan, and things should be okay. But I think still some Japanese people still have like that a stereotype towards like black people in a sense. It's not saying they're gonna call it out, but they still have that little phobia, like black people, like like are they okay? Are they good? So it just kind of feels kind of weird at times when I first came here. But after a while, it kind of like, I got used to it. Like a lot of people start staring at me in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, I want to like punch somebody if they keep staring at me. Like, why? Like, what do you want? And it's like, sometimes I feel like, hey, if somebody look at me, I'm just going to say, what's up? How are you? Because it's just like, if you speak to them, maybe they probably feel maybe uncomfortable, or maybe they feel comfortable, like, oh, he spoke to him, like, maybe I should just leave him alone, or maybe I should speak to him now, and those things. And it just felt, I felt kind of like awkward at times. So I did that at times too, just to kind of like test how people react to that, or even nod at people too when they stare at me too long. And I'm like, okay, just bow. And then some people just bow back, and then they carry on about their day like nothing happened. I'm like, okay. So just a few things work and a few things don't work. So just trying to figure out, like, still what's the phobia behind black people, being in Japan and whatnot still. So I would say more of the good side. I'll say I kind of found, because like some people, they will stare and they're curious, but I guess they're more curious about like, who is this black person? Like who is he? Like, what does he do here in Japan? And, when they figure out, like, when they start talking to them, they're like, oh, wow, like, this is cool. Like, you done this, you done that, you done this. Like, wow, like, they're surprised, and they're really like, curious, and they want to interact more based on your experience. So I'm like, wow. And because I think actually one quick story, I was on a train, and one of the kids, I think there was like a group of kids, and I guess they like the hip hop or something. And I was just trying to like play along, like not pay attention to them and whatnot. They actually like came closer by me, and I was kind of scared, because I'm like, okay, what do these kids want? Like, I know I'm black, but what do they want from me? So they actually had what they did. They kind of did some dance moves right next to me, and I was just kind of like nodded my head. I was like, okay. So I kind of got up a little bit, and I did like a small little dance move, and the kids was like, oh, and I was like, kakui. I was like, cool. I was like, what? I was like, no. Like, this is like nothing. Like, this is small. Like, I'm not even a dancer. I just did something small that I know that seems pretty cool. And they was just like, wow. Like, kind of like my friend had to tell me, like, yeah, they was like saying, hey, can you teach me how to do that? And I'm like, what? Like, no, I'm not no dancer. So I'm like, I can teach you this, but this is it. I can't teach you like no more than that. So it was just kind of funny. It was a good experience though. And those kids was laughing and whatnot. And they stayed like near me like the whole time during the train ride until they had to leave. And I was like, wow, that one thing that I did, like, gave them something, like just to look at it. And just like, wow, like I'm changing, mindsets of, Japanese kids, by doing something, different and stuff. So, yeah.
So between the States, Hawaii, and Japan, where do you find it the most comfortable to be black?
I mean, I say 100% it will be back in the States, because I mean, it's, our minority numbers are high back in the States. So, I mean, it's good to be there. I say Hawaii too. Hawaii, what I found out was really funny was that, and it's not like I'm being racist about it or anything like that. It was like when I came there, a Hawaiian person came up and told me, he was like, it's like, you're black, man, you safe, like you good. And I was like, huh? I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm black and I'm safe. Like, what do you mean? He said, yeah, because like there's a lot of like, white people that come here and they like disrespect us. And, we don't like that kind of stuff like that. But like black people, they come here, they don't do all that kind of stuff like that. And we like black people. Black people are cool. And I was like, what? Like it's like I'm safe and I'm black. Like I had never heard of anything like that before when I came here. So I was like, okay. And in the back of my head, I was like, okay, it's good to be black now. Okay, I'm safe. I'm safe. They're not gonna do anything to me. I'm safe. But it just felt kind of weird in a sense. But I was like, oh, like what did people do to, these Hawaiians that got them like that? And it was just like, I was always curious, like, what did they do to like provoke them to that point where they telling black people like, you're good, you're safe. And it's just like, wow, like this is like crazy. And just, just weird. But I guess too, like in Japan, I feel like I'm safe. It just depends on what I'm doing as well. So it's like, as long as I'm, sticking to myself and doing what I'm supposed to do out here in Japan, I'm safe. I don't have any troubles or problems with anybody. I get along with pretty much anybody I interact with. Just sometimes I kind of keep to myself just because I want to protect myself and not try to get hurt by anything and just make me feel bad and stuff like that. So I just try to stay kind of low key and just do what I'm supposed to do every day. And I found out that a lot of stuff doesn't really happen to me. I don't really get into a lot of bad things in life out here, and I feel good. And it's just go back to normal business as usual. Oh God. Oh man, what is the funniest thing? That's a good question. Oh, I remember now. What was that? Came to Tokyo and was shopping at this like Daiso store or something, I think, a little 100 yen store. And I went in like, oh, I'm pretty confident about my Japanese. So I was like, yeah, I can do stuff. Watch this, I can do it. So I went in there to get like a fan because it was like really hot during the summertime. And I was just like, okay, where's the stuff at? And I was like trying to remember the words and everything and say stuff. And I told the lady at the register when I was about to purchase, Isho ni ikimashoka. And I was like, what? And I didn't know I said that. And the lady was just like kind of stunned because she was like, like, because what I meant to say was like, I wanted to put all the stuff in the bag, not like her come with me. Like, I'll just kind of like, whoo, like, because it just clicked at the end. Like once I left the store, what I said, and I was like, did I just tell her to come with me? Like, did I say this to the lady? I meant to say put the stuff all together in the same bag. And it was just like, that lady was probably like, this guy is crazy. Like, what is wrong with him? And I'm like, I'm confident. I'm like, yeah, I got it. I can do it. Yeah. And just, yeah, that was just kind of too funny. I was just like, man, like learning Japanese, using the proper Japanese. Make sure you use the proper Japanese when you're talking. I know sometimes you can be confident, but just be careful. Say something really bad than what I said. I mean, I think it was safe, but it was just kind of too funny at the same time. So dating. Oh man. This is a crazy story. I'll tell you this. I went out one time and I actually had my phone and I had like all the translations and I had like what did I have? I had like a translating app and it wasn't like Google or nothing. And I actually tried to talk to a girl just with an app, just like, hey, how are you doing? And she looked at me, she looked at my phone, and she just like walked away. I was just like, wow, like it was so stupid, and I felt so bad, and I was just like, see, you can't let technology try to help you with, talking to someone. You gotta try to talk for yourself as a human being instead of let technology talk for you, because you can have an instant like I did and look stupid. But those are the type of things that I kind of notice about like dating in Japan and whatnot, and the scene here and whatnot. So just be careful in a sense. being respectful to them as well. Because sometimes what I notice too, like with some Japanese guys, they kind of be aggressive to some of the women, and it's kind of weird because when they date like someone foreigner and they treat them different, it's almost kind of like a complete like 180. Like, whoa, like this person I was dating used to be all crazy and just kind of a little aggressive, but now I date this person. This person is all nice and seems very, charming and kind and, respectful. Like, wow, maybe I should have been, dated this type of person. But, each person has their own, personal opinion on who they want to date. So, I can't control that, or you can't control that. So, you just pick and choose and you try your best. If it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. At least you say you tried. That's number one thing I would say. If you're trying to date anybody in Japan, try. You never know what can happen. That could be the one for you. You could date them for a long time. You never know. Just try. Number one thing I would say, do some research. Do some research about Japan and, figure out if it's really comfortable for you to like live on an island. Like I said before too, like I lived in Hawaii for like 8 years. I was stuck on an island. Never went somewhere that far throughout my life, and it actually opened my my horizons up to many other different things. So test it out. Like come to Japan on vacation. Try for like maybe like a week or two and just try to see like how much do you absorb of like Japanese culture, or studying Japanese as well too. That can be a really good key point to help you out in your career or anything like that too as well. Just having some Japanese background as well. You don't have to be like fluent or whatever, but I mean just having some basic knowledge, conversational, can help you out a long way. Learn some of the Japanese mannerisms as well. And I mean, you may not agree with it and whatnot, but just being polite to them and being respectful to them, it'll go a long way. And it'll help you out. Get used to a lot of small things too. A lot of small things. Small toilets, small bathtubs, small showers, small rooms, all these things. Get used to that, because like Japan, they have like this compact society. So everything is small, like for a reason and whatnot. So you got to get used to that. Like even like your portions are small too. So if you like to eat, you might have to order double portions of that. But I think they have like a healthy system with that in place. So just eat as how much as you can. Don't overeat. So it's just not to like actually make you overweight as well too. So that way, you can live longer and like drink green tea too. Drink green tea. That's I think maybe that's why a lot of Japanese people living a lot longer and stuff too. Woo! Japanese. I think my Japanese is just about basic to somewhat conversational as a beginner. I mean, I've been here a long time, but it's just me being an English teacher, like I've been kind of shying away from studying, and it kind of messed me up. So now it's like I'm falling off, and like when I get the chance to speak Japanese, I do it as much as possible just to regain some of the information that I had. And sometimes it actually is funny. I'll drink sometimes and I'll remember words that I never knew I remember. And it's just like, what? Like, how did I know that word? Like, how did I, convey that to that person and made them understand? I was like, wow. Like, I'm not saying you got to drink to learn. Practice makes perfect. Even though someone speaks English to you, talk back to them in Japanese, and then they may speak to you in a faster way of Japanese, and it may catch you off guard because they may think you're fluent in Japanese. So just be careful sometimes. Be careful of that too. So I guess one of my biggest ambitions was like when I came here was just, I really wanted to get into acting. I didn't really want to do teaching because I knew it was a job that it would just be something like just to pay the bills. Like I wanted to do something that I really wanted to do in a way, because I did a little bit before I came to Japan when I was living in Hawaii, and it just kind of like carried on, and I wanted to carry it on into Japan. And I've done some work actually. I actually have a short film that I did for a student in Kyoto It's going to be actually put on the what is that? The Asian Film Festival for this year. So it's called the Karaoke Ensemble. It's actually going to be in Japanese, but they're going to have English subtitles as well. I did that part, and it was pretty cool just being a part of acting again and actually, doing that stuff. And it just made me feel really happy. And one day I was like, maybe in Japan, maybe I can have that one TV show that I did and be like, yeah, I did that. Malcolm X. The reason why I say Malcolm X is because he was a strong leader. It was like he didn't take no crap from people. And when it was time for him to stand up, he did that. A lot of people didn't agree to his methods and everything like that. But, looking at the man, how he was and how he carried himself, it really spoke volumes to me as a person. And it made me feel like, he was looking out for everybody in a sense. He didn't just say, hey, he's being bad to only certain groups or whatever, stuff like that. He's saying, hey, we want our respect as well. We're entitled to those things. We're human beings, those type of things. And, it really I felt the volume that he spoke about a lot of stuff that he did, and just his aspiration as a person, and his, unwillingness to just keep going no matter what's the cost. Even he put his family at risk and stuff like that. So just, he's doing something. Everything he was doing was meaningful. And, it just shows that, hey, he didn't let nobody stop him. He didn't let nobody deter him from what he was doing. He stood up for everything that he did. And he did that based on his actions, and it spoke the volume, and it just encouraged me just be like, hey, if I could better sit down with him, I would want to like pick his brain about all the stuff that happened, and just have that inside information about all those things that happened and occurred to him, and just be able to have that conversation about it. And maybe if I could tell him about what happened, like going on in the world today and stuff like that, and just, have some insights as well. So clothing line is called VET. It's pretty much, it's just called VET. It can be a nickname as veteran. For myself, I used to be in the military. So it's actually the same letters going the same way. It's actually mirrored. So it's VET going to the left, VET going to the right, same thing. So it's just, I wanted to create something different, something unique. You can go to, let's say, one of these black businesses and say, hey, I want you to buy one of our items because we want to represent you and we want to make you stand out. And just call support. We support each other. We have this community together, and, we build from there. And, we can take it to a whole nother level if we want to, but it's all about having this community together and bringing us up as, whole. We came from one different part of the world. Now we all migrating to one section in Japan as well too. So I'm thinking of always trying to network and always trying to get people to understand that it's like, hey, we need to network. We need to build each other up. We need to support each other in whatever aspects that they're doing. So that way we can, rise up together as one, not just, separate entities. We can rise up together, and, we can do a lot of different things. And because we have the backing of each other, and that's how we blow up. That's how we do things a lot better than what a lot of people are not thinking that we can do. And it's just a lot of stuff that people feel that they may get scared that we may be rising, but it's not that. It's just that we've always been rising, but it's just that we have not been networking enough to promote each other and also to get us where we need to be at, because that's our kind of downfall. We feel like that mentality, that crab mentality. We always pull each other down. We're not trying to let that person rise on top. But if we let that person rise on top, let's take our brothers with us. Let's take our sisters with us. Let's take our kids with us. Let's take everybody with us. So that way we all can grow together, and, we can be that that power, that form, that entity that, people like, hey, these people was like looked down on, but now they rose up together and they just say, hey, let's be something. Let's be something powerful. Let's send out a message to, the world. We don't got to worry about Prada, Fendi, and Gucci, and all this stuff. Let's make our own stuff. Let's do something that's going to make our society, our culture, bigger than what it is, and, expand from there and just show people like, hey, we're doing this because we care about our people and we want our people to grow together, not just separately. We want them to grow together and help one another out along the way. No matter what information, networking, anything like that, we want them to, know that and have that experience as well to pass on to, their kids and grandkids, whoever else, in that aspect. My clothing line company is www.vetclothing.com. I have a couple items every month. I'm trying to push out at least 2 to 3 new designs each month. So I make sure that I stay to my word on that. So that way people can, make sure to check us out. Also, I have a Facebook as well. It's VET Clothing on Facebook, and on Instagram, VET Clothing as well.
Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to share your story or have us visit your region, send us a message on any of our social media platforms or via our website.
That's good.